Hello and welcome to video 32 in my Rigging in Maya series. All we're going to do in this video is continue setting up the paw controls, adding more functionality to them and giving the animator more to work with. In addition to this, we will add to the systems we have already created, allowing for some customization over how the paw moves and its key poses. Before we start work, I wanted to ask you something. Are you enjoying these videos and would you like to see more? Well, if so, there are a number of ways you can help support future content. The first is to simply head over to my Ko-fi page and treat me to a coffee to say thank you. The second is to head over to the antCGi store. Here you can download the assets for each of my courses, but don't worry, there are plenty of free downloads available too. The third way you can help is to join the antCGi club. Membership starts from as little as 99p a month, and in return you can earn yourself some exclusive rewards. These include member-only videos, a limited edition antCGi pin badge, and a discount on all antCGi merchandise. There are a few ways you can join. The first is to simply click the join button below this video and become a member of this YouTube channel. The second is to head over to my Patreon or Ko-fi pages and become a member there. So there you go, the future of this channel and its contents is in your hands. To get more information on how you can help, follow the link on the screen or in the description below. So here we are, exactly where we left off. We have the base systems in place and we can quickly and easily roll and bank the paw. What we're going to do now is wire up these attributes. So let's just do the easy ones first. Open the connection editor and load the rear IK control into the left side. So we can see the attributes here. Let's connect heel twist first. So it looks like we need the Y rotation. Load the heel reverse joint into the right side and disable showing non-keyable. Now simply connect heel twist to rotate Y. So that's set up. Now let's connect the toe twist attribute. This time we need the tip reverse joint. We want to move like this, so the Y rotation again. Let's load that into the right side and select rotate Y. The animator can now use those attributes to quickly twist the paw from the heel and from the tip of the toe. Let's move to toe tap and toe curl next, because these are just as easy to set up now we have all the systems built. Select the tip IK handles, the ones in the middle of the toes. All we need to do to make the toes curl is adjust the Y translation. So load those into the right side of the connection editor and simply connect toe curl to each one's translate Y attribute. We can use that attribute to curl the toes now. And remember, I'm demonstrating this on one attribute working on all the toes. Feel free to set this up with separate attributes so you can control each toe independently. With the toe tap, we just do the same. This time we work on the end IK handles. So bring those in and simply connect toe tap to each one's translate Y attribute. And there we go, the toe curl and tap attributes both set up. Just one small tip while we're here. If you are scrubbing an attribute in the channel box and things are moving too quickly, simply holding Control will slow things down and make the increment smaller. If you decided to follow the rotation route with the toes, which I mentioned in the previous video, if you remember, I offered you the option of adding an extra rotation group so you could work on rotations rather than translations. Make sure you connect to the rotation group's rotate Z values, not the IK handles translation values. This will give you a nicer arc as the toes rotate, which may work better for your rig. In fact, thinking about it, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add that functionality into this rig, so feel free to check it out in the source files. Right, now let's look at adding a simple spread to the toes, and to do this we will be using connections like with the other attributes, but we need to work a little differently so the toes separate correctly. The toe spread is a great addition, so as the dog's paws plant on the ground, the animators can make them spread slightly. Let's close this and open the node editor. Now bring in the main IK control and let's hide the shapes. Also open this up. OK, now bring in the IK handles for the outer toes. So we want the IK handles to move again, but this time left to right, like this. So along the Z-axis. What we want though is for the outer toes to spread this way, and the inner toes to spread this way, so they need to move in opposite directions. We can do this with a multiply divide node. So create one, and call it left rear outer toes multi. Let's open it up too. Connect translate Z to input 1x and input 1y. Let's separate these so we know which are which. So these are the outer toes. Connect output x to each one's translate Z attribute. And connect output y to the other inner IK handles translate Z attributes. Let's test this. Oh, actually, we need to connect the Paw Spread attribute to the multiply divide node, not the translations. Sorry about that. So let's just quickly reconnect these. That's better. So now if we adjust the Paw Spread attribute, the toes move the same way that they did before. But this time we can simply change the input 2x attribute on the multiply divide node to -1 and invert the value. And now when we spread the toes, they come apart. OK, let's look at the inner toes. Let's move these down here and duplicate the multiply divide node. Open it up, renaming it to inner instead of outer. Connect Paw Spread, yep, Paw Spread this time, to input 1x and input 1y. We need the IK handles now to connect the outputs to. So import those and organise these again. Now connect output x to the middle toe IK handles Z translation. And then output y to the ring toe IK handles translate Z attributes. OK, let's try this. Looks like we got these the wrong way around. We could reconnect them, but instead we could just swap the values in the multiply divide node. That might be a little bit easier. So set this to 1 and input 2y to -1. That's better. What we can do now is adjust the multiplied values so the inner toes don't move as far as the outer toes. So there's more of a gradual spread. So let's half these values and test it again. That looks better. If you wanted, you could add another multiply divide node so the end joints move out more too, so the tips spread further. But you get the general idea with this setup. So all those attributes are set up now, and the animator can use them to further pose the toes. Now these are just a few of the options available to you, so I would suggest you experiment with different ways you can adjust the IK handles to create more poses and animation options. So that's the main visible control set up, but we do have some secret ones hidden away. If we check the leg IK control in the attribute editor, you see we have the main attributes here, but we also have some more down here. Now these aren't visible in the channel box, and that's because we don't want the animator to touch these. These attributes will be just for us to use to set up how the foot works with the controls. And this is essential if you're rigging different characters but using similar controls. Let's open the node editor. So here we have the main foot roll network we built in the previous video. Let's also copy the tab here so we can see the attributes. So if you remember, when setting up the paw roll, we had lots of static values. If I select the rear roll multi-node, we have this value of 10 here. If I select the condition node, we have another static value here of 4. What else? Ah yes, we have the 40 value here on the plus minus average nodes. So what I'm trying to show you is that we have all these static values, but we can use them to make the foot roll more flexible, and we can do this with those hidden attributes. Let's bring the control over so we can see those attributes. So here we have toe flex, and this is set to 40, the same as the value on the plus minus average nodes. This represented the rotation on the ball joint, so the point where the ball stopped moving and the paw moved onto the tips of its toes. So let's connect this to the static 40 values in our network. Oh, here we go. So we can connect it here. And we can do the same on the subtract node as well. So connect toe flex to input 1D0 on each. That's connected now, but at the moment if we use it, it will probably break the way the foot rolls. So let's look for some of the other attributes. Okay, here on the condition node we have the value 4. This was the distance the control had to travel before the ball stopped moving. Over here we have the foot straight angle attribute, although it should probably be called paw straight angle. So again, this represents the point where the paw starts to straighten as it goes onto its toes. Okay, let's connect foot straight angle to second term and replace that 4. What we need to do now is use both these attributes, foot straight angle and toe flex, to give us the correct value that the joints need to move. Otherwise we will get a snap as the ball ends and the tip starts to rotate. So let's create a new multiply divide node and call it left paw rear flex multi. Set operation to divide. Connect toe flex to input 1x and foot straight angle to input 2x. We need the rear roll multi-node. Here it is. So this was used to make the joints move further. And here we have a static value of 10, so we are going to replace that. Connect output x. Actually, let's open this first. So connect output x to input 2x. There we go. We replaced the static value of 10 with a dynamic one, which will update with the attributes. Let's close this for now and see how this is looking. So the foot roll is still working, so that's a good sign. Let's say we wanted to change the point when the ball stopped moving and the tip starts. So if, for example, the character is wearing stiff leather boots, so the toe isn't as flexible. Let's try changing toe flex to 20. Okay, so the toe is looking a bit stiffer. Let's reduce it a bit more. So the toe now only bends slightly before the tip kicks in, so the ball area is a lot stiffer. We can now adjust the toe straight angle to dictate the point where the foot straightens out. So maybe 2. So you see, that's now getting to a straightened point sooner. Let's set toe flex back to 40 and foot straight angle to 4 again. So these are the default values, but you could see the difference. And these allow you to fine-tune the setup, tailoring it to the character. Okay, let's look at roll back and roll forward next. We're essentially going to use these to limit the control, so this will affect how far the foot can roll forwards and backwards. Bring both the leg IK control and the paw control into the node editor. At the moment we can move this control freely. So as you can see, the animator can move it too far, which breaks the rig. We need to limit its movement. That's where the roll back and roll forwards attributes come into play. So let's connect these. Actually, we need to look in the attribute editor first. As you can see here, we have a limit information tab. We can use these attributes to limit the control's movement. They won't work though unless you activate them first. We're only working with the X and Z translations, so enable the minimum and maximum limits on each. What we can do now is use the roll attributes to interactively set and adjust these limits, which will also mean the paw roll can move forwards and backwards further. So connect roll back to the min trans Z limit attribute, which is under here. And roll forward is connected to the max trans Z limit attribute. The control is now locked between these values. We can adjust them. Maybe set this to -10, and the roll back goes further. Okay, let's now set up the same with the X translation, which triggers the foot bank. We have the X translation limits active here, so the control will already be limited to these. As you can see. First, let's connect bank amount, and this simply goes to max trans X limit. That still works, good. With the minimum limit, we could use another attribute, but why not simplify things and stick with just one? All we need is the same value but inverted, so it's a minus value. As we have done many times before, we can simply use the multiply divide node to do this. So create one and connect bank amount to input 1x. To invert the value, just set input 2x to -1. Let's rename this before we move on. Bank limit multi, and connect output x to min trans X limit. Okay, let's close these. So the bank is limited to 6. Let's set this to 10 instead. We can now bank the paw much further. So now we have this set up, let's take it a step further and also use it to change how much the paw will tilt to. Okay, back to the node editor and bring in the reverse foot network. What we want is this node, paw rear bank multi. We added this to control the amount the paw rotated as it banked. You can see that input 2x is set to a static value of -5. We can adjust this like this. So let's connect the bank amount attribute to this. We need to use the multi-node because this has the negative value and we need to work with that negative value. So take output X and connect it to input 2X on the bank multi-node. That's connected. And the paw banks. If we increase this to 10, you see that the paw banks more now, and we can also push it further too. Okay, good. We now have a paw which rolls and banks with just this one control. And in this video we added this extra functionality, making the rig better for both the animator and the person building the rig. Okay, let's see this applied to all the paws now, and with some basic skinning on the model too. So here we go, the same process applied to all 4 paws. As mentioned, I've also added some very basic weighting so we can see this applied to the model. It's important to also point out that the toe joints need to be added to that bind skin selection set. We have the foot roll and bank, and all the other options we added. Like I said earlier, you can do so much more now you have the basic knowledge of how to set up a paw like this. You could add in individual toe controls, for example. I also want to look at adding in some weight to the paw too, so it squashes slightly as the paw is placed on the floor. So I might investigate that a little later and then come back and add it as another part of the series. We've been purely focused on the rear paw, which worked well, but look what happens when we've set up the front paws. The toes seem to collapse in on themselves. This is because the upper part of the front legs aren't following as the ankle moves. And if you remember, we had to rig the front and rear legs differently, which is why it works fine on the rear legs. So this is forcing the paw down into the toe joints. Now don't worry though, this is quite an easy fix. So let's find the IK handle. Here it is. Let's find it in the outliner. So this is the main IK handle we use to control the leg. Let's change the background for a sec. As you can see, this is inside a group, which is also constrained to the leg IK control. We just need to delete that point constraint and reapply it, but this time constrain it to the ankle reverse joint or the metacarpus reverse joint. So it's essentially going to follow as that joint moves. Okay, that looks better already. Let's bring back the model. Okay, perfect. See, I told you it was an easy fix. What we can also do is apply the same to the Hock control, so it follows the ankle instead of the leg control. So delete this and reapply it, but constrained to the reverse ankle joint. Oh yeah, that's much better. Let's also do the same with the rear leg Hock controls too. Okay, good. So before you go, I have one more thing to share. Like any good technical artist, it's a good idea to try and script as much as you can to help speed up the rigging process. And as you know, I try to create scripts to go with these videos to help you out. Having to set up the paw controls 4 times is a lengthy task, so I did create a few scripts to help me with the other 3. Now, I haven't made these into a nice little tool for you, but what I did think is I could just upload the code for you and then you can adapt it to use it on your own rigs. They will need some adjustment to work with your tools, but hopefully they will come in useful. As always, you can grab this as part of the course assets from the antCGi store. So there we go, all the paws rigged with lots of controls for the animators to play around with. Obviously we could go further, like I've mentioned, we could do individual toe controls or add more poses. And again, as mentioned, we could make the paw compress slightly as it touches the floor. I think though, what we have is a good setup any animator would be happy with. Plus, I hope you now have the knowledge and confidence to experiment with some of your own controls. Okay, that's the paws done for now, so in the next video let's move up and focus on giving the dog a facial rig. Okay, another video over. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Thanks for watching right to the end, and remember to hit that like button and also subscribe to keep up to date with future videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, please post them in the comments below, or alternatively, why not join the antCGi community Discord group, where me or other members of the community will be more than happy to help. Remember, to help support future content and keep these videos free, please visit the antCGi store or join the antCGi club. Alternatively, if you would just like to show your appreciation for these videos, why not treat me to a coffee at my coffee page? The link is on the screen now and in the description below. Thanks again for watching. This is antCGi signing off, and I will see you on the next one.